Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming once again to our Signal Innovation Showcase series. Our next speaker is Rick Friend, the Manager of Cybersecurity Solutions and Architecture at Merlin Cyber. You pretty much have to like a guy named Friend, so let's give him a big hand.
All right, thanks, George. Appreciate the introduction there. So today we're going to talk about deception, how we can enhance endpoint defense, and we're going to tailor this for the federal government. Let's see if the clicker works here. Perfect. So welcome, everybody. My name is Rick Friend. I'm with Merlin Cyber, and today we're going to walk through the science of bypassing EDR, but more importantly than that, we're going to talk about how we can increase our detection strategies, and we're going to ground that in deception through real-world testing. So at Merlin Cyber, we are a value-added reseller. We only do cybersecurity. That's it. We focus on that. We specialize in federal government, so on zero trust, compliance, rules, regulations, OMB mandates, right? We tailor our solutions for you and for the federal government. We do cutting-edge insights, so one of the differentiators between us is Merlin Labs, and what Merlin Labs is doing is testing classic cybersecurity tools all the way to the latest and greatest up-and-coming cybersecurity products. And we do technical days, free technical days for the federal government where we'll come in, you can pick the topic, and we'll do 2 hours, 3 hours, and we'll do the research for you, and we'll educate and make you guys smart on whatever it is you're looking for. So here we got the agenda slide. We have this just because you're supposed to have one of these, but really the agenda is we're going to take 2 hours worth of information, and we're going to cram it into 20 minutes. So we're jumping straight off the deep end here. We're going to go down into the water, and then we're going to come right back up. Who am I? My name is Rick Friend. I'm the Manager of Cybersecurity Solutions and Architect at Merlin Cyber. I do have a military background. I served in the Army doing cyber for Uncle Sam, done multiple combat tours to Iraq and Afghanistan, and as much as I really love doing cyber for Uncle Sam, there was too many vacations to the desert, and so I decided to move on to other opportunities, and so now I'm doing consulting for the federal government and continuing my warfighter efforts that way. Expertise is in zero trust and ransomware prevention, also in vulnerability and risk management, and deception. So, a few statistics here on EDR. If you don't know what EDR is the next generation of antivirus. It's the endpoint detection and response. It's an agent that goes on your endpoint and provides next generation protection. But as we can see here, 82% adoption rate. Everybody has an EDR product that they're using today. However, almost 70% of its successful attacks happened on products with EDR in place. So what does this really tell us? It tells us that EDR alone is not enough, right? We need more. So our training goals for today. We're going to understand EDR mechanics and go over that. We're going to talk quickly about bypass techniques and how adversaries can bypass your EDR products. And then we're going to go into some powerful detection strategies. What do we do once EDR has been compromised? And how do we detect bad guys? First of all, EDR mechanics. It's really quite simple. The agent collects data, stores it in a centralized location for analytics, analyzes that data, and provides some alerting and some reporting. There's 3 parts of EDR. The first part is static analysis, so it's looking at signature-based, known IPs, known bad domains. It's looking at known malicious strings, but it's really quite easy to bypass, right? Encryption, polymorphic malware, all typical ways that you can get past signature-based analysis. The next way is dynamic analysis. So actually taking the files, uploading them into a sandboxed environment, and then analyzing and looking at what the behavior of the software/malware and how it's behaving. Sandbox testing is looking for registry, entries, network connections, anything that might make it known that it's evil. Also, very easy to detect, right? We can look at drivers, virtualization, we can look at timestamps, logging, we can look at the users, but it's easy to bypass. The next part is behavior analytics, where we're looking at API function calls, analyzing the syscalls, and understanding command line execution. And it can only be mitigated through pretty advanced techniques, which we're going to jump into in just a minute here. So really quickly, how API function hooking works, you have the user space of the operating system and you have the kernel space of the operating system. And in the user space, it's where your applications run. It's also where malware runs. But every application and process needs to make a system call if it wants to do something. So in this case, EDR sits somewhere in between right here, and it hooks into this file called the ntdll. And every single good application is running through this system call stack. And what the hook is there, it just redirects it into the EDR platform where it's then analyzed. And if it's known malicious, then it can make a call on whether it should be blocked or whether it should be allowed. In this case, we have a piece of malware here that wants to allocate memory. It sends the call through the system call. It gets hooked, sent over to the EDR, and virtual memory is allocated because there's nothing really wrong with allocating memory for an application. As we progress, the malware tries to write to memory. Same thing, it goes through the security stack. Because of the EDR hook, gets sent for analysis, it's logged, and memory is allocated. Finally, the payload tries to launch. At this point, the system call comes through, the hook goes through. EDR says, you know what, there's a correlation of events here. We can clearly determine that this is malware, that this is evil, and in a split second, we'll block it. But we still have things that were allowed previously. So how do we bypass EDR? What are some of the techniques that we can use to get around it? And of course, we got our evil Jedi here trying to hack the system. We'll skip right past that one. This guy, Karsten Knoll, great dude from Security Research Labs. Big shout out to him for providing his research to us. But he has some very interesting techniques that he's introduced. So the first one is overriding the ntdll. EDR rewrites the ntdll with its hooks. So just grab a blank copy and overwrite it. Simple as that, right? It's possible your EDR might have some hooks into that process as well and might catch it. But that's one method, is just to overwrite the hooked ntdll with a clean version that you either pull from disk or from some started process. And that's one way. The second way is through a direct system call. So integrating a stub into the malware that skips this ntdll altogether and makes a direct system call trying to load into memory the malware that's trying to execute. And finally, the last way is an indirect system call. So the same way that an EDR puts a hook, the malware injects a hook and just bypasses the hook that the EDR has put in place, making the system call. All three methods are determined on which EDR you have, and so we have to look at other methods as well. But the big takeaway here, right, is that exe files are very, very easy to trigger on. It's not hard at all. The EDR knows very easily that this is malware. But when we use a DLL and we drop it into maybe a shared library on, say, Microsoft Teams, now we have a problem, right? Because we're breaking up the correlation. Drop the DLL in a Microsoft Teams folder. The download and the file creation is one correlation event, but it's separated with time. The user doesn't open up Microsoft Teams for, I don't know, a day, hour, whatever it is. There's a separation of time there. When they finally do open up Microsoft Teams, it loads the malicious DLL, shares the memory with that application, and now we have a serious problem. EDR never picks it up because there's no series of events that make it look evil. So these guys tested three different EDRs, and as you can tell, they tested against Cobalt, command and control software, and with Sliver. Cobalt is much more known as far as a command and control software, and we can see that in the results here. So to some degree, EDR is looking at signatures and understanding, okay, well, Cobalt's very popular. A lot of folks are using Cobalt in the wild. Let's make sure that we can detect on Cobalt and Cobalt actions. But the thing to point out here is that two evasion techniques worked universally across all EDRs, and that's dropping those .dlls in shared libraries and bypassing EDR like that. This guy is Helvio Calvero Jr. Hopefully I said that right, Helvio. I met him at DEF CON last year. I was at his presentation and then spent some time with him talking afterwards. He released at DEF CON last year in his presentation a new method called hook chaining, and he provided some information on that as well. Out of courtesy, I obfuscated the EDR products, but they are all in the top 16 and in the top right-hand corner of the Magic Quadrant. These green boxes are actually bad. It means it executed without alerts, and you can see that he did remote process injection, Meterpreter, Havoc, Kiwi, even ran Mimikatz, scraped credentials straight out of memory, ran Mimikatz, downloaded Mimikatz, and ran Mimikatz, and produced credentials. Some EDRs did not produce very good results, as you can see here with lots of green checkboxes, and some did better with the red little icons there, but still had some alerts, some execution without being alerted or blocked. The point here is that you really have to choose your EDR wisely, and I mean this. I wouldn't choose my EDR based upon a cool PowerPoint slide deck presentation from the OEM. Right? You really have to look and see how are these tools performing when real-world attacks are thrown at them that are brand new. So the question is what is EDR really? Is it a prevention tool? Is it a detection tool? Is it and I would argue that it's more of a detection tool than it is a prevention tool. It will prevent, but it has to first detect, and it's allowing a lot of things to go through firsthand. An ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. 95% of attacks can be prevented if they just had the right security controls in place, and the average time to identify and contain a breach is 287 days. That's 200 plus days just to know that the adversary is in your environment. It's way too long. So we're going to talk a little bit about CyberArk EPM, Endpoint Privilege Manager, which is the perfect complement to EDR and preventing EDR bypass. Not only does it manage your administrative accounts, which are on that device, it puts in security controls so that EDR bypass is not a thing, whitelist applications, but then also does this key piece right here, which is deception technology. EPM and EDR are a match made in heaven. This software here has been tested and proven against over 3 million samples of ransomware, and it's been 100% effective every single time. It has not been compromised yet with ransomware. Pair that with your EDR, and you got a pretty good product. This right here is a kind of an eye chart, and I'll go over it really, really quickly, but what this is a matrix for cybersecurity insurance companies on how they can determine what your premiums are going to be, how likely you are to submit a request for being breached. And we got 5 here. Here's the control mechanism, a description of it, and then the risk reduction multiplier, and then the amount of customers that they have that are actually implementing it. And the first one's it's no news right here. It's hardening the operating system and Active Directory. In number 3, we have endpoint detection and response. Everybody has that, 82%. We have logging and monitoring. Everybody's doing SIM. It's nothing big. But this one right here, number 2 and number 5 are the ones that are kind of unique. Privileged access management, EPM, only 35% of their customers are using it today. Yet gives you a 2.92 risk reduction rate. The last one here is, being able to respond to CVSS that are a severity of 7 in less than 7 days, which there's not a lot of people that can do that either. But that's a whole nother topic of vulnerability and risk management. Quick advertisement. This is my shameless plug. My team over at Merlin Labs has produced a learning environment where they've set up a ransomware cyber range where we can have customers come in, they can run ransomware, see what that looks like, analyze that, and then put the security controls in place to actually block the ransomware. So if you'd like to see me afterwards and then we can sign up, more than happy to put you through the learning program and go through some of our labs that we've done at Merlin Labs, but that's my commercial. With cybersecurity, there is no silver bullets at all. We have to assume breach. Zero trust is all about assuming breach. So what do we got to do to make sure that we're detecting and picking up all this stuff? And the answer really is deception. If they've already bypassed all of your security controls, then we have to have a way to pick them up, and that's with behavior-based detection, identifying attackers through deception techniques. Sorry, I just looked at my time, and that kind of threw me off a little bit. But by setting up deception techniques, we can accomplish several different things. Behavior-based detection, we're looking at how an attacker is enumerating your system and what we can do to catch them right in the very beginning, catching insider threats as well. And with deception, we have near zero false positives. We know without a shadow of a doubt when deception is deployed, if an adversary has touched that device, it's going to be a bad guy. There's no way around it. And zero maintenance. You set up decoys, you let them sit, and silently they wait for an attacker to trip on the booby trap. In 1944, the United States Army, as they were storming the beaches of Normandy, utilized decoys, inflatable tanks, planes, and people to divert forces, German forces, away from Normandy so that they could be successful. And that's really what deception is all about. It's about leveling the playing field and using deception to give you back the power that you didn't have before. They say that defenders need to be right 100% of the time, and attackers only need to be right once, and that's not really the case. One exploit is not going to own your own network. But what we can do is we can shift the advantage back to the defender side. We can set up tons of booby traps and deceptions, and so that way, even if they get past your detection and prevention mechanisms, they're going to trip up on something. The first thing that somebody's going to do when they bypass your EDRs, they're going to try to scrape the memory. They're going to look for credentials. And so one of the techniques that we can do is we can put false credentials, inject them into memory so that way they waste time, energy, resources trying to decrypt credentials that have access to nothing. We can set up decoy connections and traps, servers that look just like them, mimic the network traffic so it looks like an Active Directory server, a database server, whatever it might be, and we can drop dissolvable breadcrumbs and binaries that point attackers that have eluded your detection mechanisms and point them to these decoys so that way we can catch them right off the bat. The whole idea here is that we can reduce and slow them down while we increase the amount of time, we can reduce the dwell time and slow them down while giving us early detection, high confidence of alert, so that way we can quickly contain or observe the enemy as they're in the environment. With that said, there's several different ways you can do it. There's scripting, there's agentless, there's agent deployments, simple configurations. There's all kinds of different ways and techniques that we can talk to you about, including deception. But CyberArk really makes it simple by pulling all the admin credentials off of the box, placing deceptive credentials there for the attacker, and then monitoring if those credentials are used anywhere else and providing you a high fidelity alert that you have an attacker in your network. So with that, I'll end. We're Merlin Cyber. We do technology scouting, looking at the OEMs. We do software assessments, making sure that the OEMs do exactly what they tell you that they're going to do. We do integrations and drive additional value from OEMs and products by putting them together in our labs. We do cybersecurity solutions, solving problems for you, and we do that within our Merlin labs as well. We can do readiness assessments, looking at zero trust, gap analysis, mandates, whatever you need to do, and even rapid prototyping where we can do POCs within our environment. Finally, we do zero-cost training. We can do tech days for you on ransomware, automation, incident response, zero trust, or deception. And we are part of the Zero Trust Working Group. So with that said, I got some cards in the back. If you'd like to engage, please come grab my business card. I'd love to have a meeting with you to set up a chat on how my team can be a resource for you guys. I would love to do a tech day for you. You can reach me at LinkedIn at Rick Joseph Friend at LinkedIn. I'll be at the CyberArk booth 2950 for a little while if you want to come. And I'll leave you with this. Deception puts the power back in your hands to win the battle. You can think of deception as 1,000 tiny little cyber ninjas waiting, lurking in the corners, always watching, never sleeping, looking for bad guys. So with that said, any questions? All right, I got one question for you really quickly. All right, how much does it cost for Merlin Cyber to do a tech day for you? Anybody at all? Free. Who said free? All right, cool. How much does it cost to do a Merlin Cyber POC within our Merlin labs? Anybody else? Free. There you go. All right, good. Guys, my name is Rick Friend with Merlin Cyber. Thank you very much.
No, you didn't. You had a little time left. Yeah, you're good. Rick, thank you so much, and thank you all for being here. We'll keep chugging along at 3:50 with a presentation on digital employee experience. So thanks a lot.